Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Links with Friends. We're here with government and security stories for the start of your week. Also, we got a super chat.
Oh, yeah. Keith Weston, thank you. And also an anonymous one that doesn't show your name. So if that was some sort of, if you intended to show your name, I don't know. Sorry.
We're always fighting both the YouTube algorithm and the YouTube UI.
I spent like 5 minutes digging into it, and it's just like, no, you have money. And it's like, who's it from? Anonymous.
So thank you. Either way, we appreciate it.
This
show is brought to you by viewers like you.
It really is.
That's one of the cool kids, and he was like, I really like this, but I can't let anybody know.
No, yeah.
We also have a lot of subs on Patreon of Floatplane, and we're looking at including you. So if you want, for some reason, to not be included, let us know. But we're going to try to incorporate that in an episode or two. And you're going to be out next week, so maybe we'll do that.
No, I'll be here. I'll be out here next week. I'll be out for till mid-September.
Yeah, so you'll be gone for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Not this week, and not next week, but the week after?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Ryan might be out too, so maybe we'll do a live stream.
It might get real weird.
There may be some August/September vacations, so we might skip a week too. I don't know. I'm just giving you some advance warning.
Prepare yourself mentally for what the show's going to be.
Remember when TV series you would have 23 episodes a season, and now it's 4?
Yeah, you get 8 if you're lucky.
No, I don't know, because I don't watch that trash anymore. I only watch this.
YouTube or Links with Friends?
Well, YouTube. And that's your warning, but there was not a lot of warning for the Chinese chip buyers. This was done without their knowledge. They had to discover it after they got their shipments.
Reuters headline is, the U.S. embeds trackers in AI chip shipments to catch diversions to China, sources say. This doesn't really catch the randos that are buying, 5 and 10 at a time, though. Although there were some U.S. State Department arrests with regard to that this week.
Also, if you just repackaged it, they did say that they were somewhat hidden, but some were as large as a mobile phone, which, if you know what you're looking at, you're going to notice that. And you got to wonder what the battery time is on one of those.
Yeah, it seems like most of those shippers are smart enough to just deal with all of that in a Faraday cage anyway. So it's good luck with your cell tracker phoning home when you're inside a copper cage.
Well, at some point, you got to be in and out of the transportation. And another man who did not get a lot of warning last week when he got a real shot across the bow. But it appears that that's what it was. It appears that it's almost always just a negotiation tactic.
Stock manipulation.
It feels a little predictable at this point, but as with every time before, you just have to go and you got to pay homage to the man, and he turns around completely.
Trump flip-flops on Intel CEO, calls him a success days after demanding resignation. Somebody here in the office has gotten wise to this pattern, and they're like, yeah, I bought the dip. And it just seems like blatant stock manipulation was all this was. So Lip Bhutan went to the White House, and it's oh, he's a remarkable individual. And it's just, I don't know, what kind of clown world is this?
And then give it a week, and he forgets that interaction, and then we'll have the whole round will go again.
Well, that's not all he got. He didn't just get the pat on the head and, the acceptance. He got maybe even more from that meeting.
Intel stock climbs 7% on report Trump administration is considering a stake in the chip maker. Trump had said, hey, TSMC is doing really well. They should invest in Intel to help Intel turn around, which, kind of shocks everybody for a lot of different reasons. And then it's well, maybe the U.S. should invest in this kind of thing. It's okay. There are a lot of business types that are jockeying to have Intel broken up because it would be a lot of absurd short-term profit. But that kind of short-sightedness is what got Intel in this mess in the first place.
And I guess it makes some sense we have one real domestic chip maker. Maybe we should invest in them. I don't know. But it seems like government management, if they had any control, would be a terrible idea. And it would probably lead to, backdoors, breaking encryption, that kind of thing. So, a little worried about that. And I'm a little worried about rockets falling out of the sky on my head.
At least you're not, on the coast where we usually do that.
Trump orders cull of regulations governing commercial rocket launches. And part of this is because Elon Musk has actually been able to cite some really absurd things that SpaceX has been forced to do. But at the same time, it's it is sort of a good idea to make these rocket companies responsible for rocket debris that may be raining down in and around the coast. Like, is there a happy medium here?
I'm not allowed to just go throw trash in the ocean.
The other thing here is the FAA's, one of the guys, Transportation Secretary. No. Sorry. Whoever's in charge of all of this is a lifelong bureaucrat. Trump wants to get rid of him and make it a government appointed role, which, who cares what you think about Trump? You got to think about the future. What happens when someone even crazier gets in there? I mean, I don't think we've had a president. Has America ever had a president who was qualified to deal with space topics? Or even identify who might be able to?
It is crazy how every little thing becomes, like, it's just, everything grinds to a halt because everybody wants to have their say, but no one actually knows what they're talking about.
Well, that's just the age of social media. That's the whole entirety of humanity at this point.
See, also, this program, this program brought to you by viewers like you.
And in New York, this lady has decided to do exactly what the federal government did to try to get her little piece of this pie.
New York Attorney General Letitia James sues a Zelle parent company alleging that it enabled fraud. So you should look at this, and you should look at the lawsuit. It's linked there. There's a lot that's redacted in the lawsuit. I don't really understand. She said that it makes it too easy for people to irreversibly transfer money between the banks. And the problem that I have with this is that there's never not a bank involved. Like, there's a bank involved on your side and there's a bank involved on the other side. And so she's saying that Zelle let fraudsters take money from people under false pretenses, but really people have to okay those transactions. And then when somebody does something fraudulent, the people that got the fraudulent money have a bank account that they're dealing with on the other end. And like, banks have really stringent know your customer laws. So it seems to me that a lot of her complaints are really about the banks and not Zelle. Like, why wouldn't you involve the banks and Zelle if you're going to do this? Because the banks have to have some culpability here.
I think the difference here is like with PayPal. Remember how like people streaming would get PayPal donations, but because there was no product and no shipping number, there was all these problems with it. In this case, I think Zelle is designed to be an alternative to like, no, yeah, you can just send somebody money. So we don't question it. Make sure you know who it is and you want to send the money. Also, I don't think these were like, oh, I logged into your account and drained it. These were just people being dumb.
Yeah.
And getting tricked.
Yeah, it seems like part of what the attorney is complaining about here is if Zelle had used language like, this is e-cash. Because cash implies a certain amount of finality. And the language from Zelle was like, it's a safe way to send money. And it's like, oh, I've accidentally sent money. I can reverse a charge. It's like, you can't, like, if you accidentally send a wire transfer and there's a typo in the bank account number, that is a huge pain in the ass to reverse. And so it's not, her argument was like, oh, you could, there's safeguards for these other things. There's really not.
She's trying to cover budget shortfalls with litigation.
It seems like a lot of what she complains about could be addressed or is already addressed at the banking end. And I wonder if some of this is, Zelle making it harder to debank somebody. Because, like, like all the civil unrest that we have going on right now in the U.S. is like, oh, I want to give, sandwich chucker guy $5 or $10 to fund his, defense. And that's really easy to do with something like Zelle. It's less easy to do with PayPal because PayPal's weird about that. When somebody starts getting hundreds of thousands of dollars of small transactions, PayPal just shuts that down immediately. And there's not really another easy way to do that. And so it's just like, is this, controlling the money for things like that?
And in the UK, unfortunately, all of the cries against the Online Safety Act have been completely ignored, and all of the appeals have been shut down.
Wikipedia operator loses court challenge to UK Online Safety Act regulations. So Wikipedia is saying, we're Wikipedia. We don't really have anything inherently dangerous. Do we have to verify that people are an adult? And the answer is yes. It's like, that's weird, because that's exactly one of the scenarios that the lawmakers said, no, that's absurd. That'll
would
never happen.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the things that the UK lawmakers don't want people reading about on Wikipedia are the postal service fiasco that they had in the previous years. Actually, happened a long time ago. We only found out about it recently, and now another one.
Court service covered up, quote unquote, IT bug that caused evidence to go missing.
So they have this digital evidence system, and it's not just for criminal cases either. There was stuff like whether or not you get welfare, and I think maybe child custody, stuff like that. And it just randomly would not let you access stuff. So your attorney would want to get discovery. They would log in. It would be like, here's all the evidence. Guess what? It wasn't all the evidence. And they found out about it, and they were like, oh, this will probably cause a lot of problems if people find out. Let's not tell them.
That's an open and shut case, isn't it?
That's really not fantastic. Also, kind of tangentially, you didn't include the 4chan story, did you? Kind of tangentially related, like the 4chan is not requiring age verification, and but 4chan has retained the services of a law firm that has sent a public letter to the UK saying, "Hey, we're not a UK company. Why would you have us require people to verify their age?"
Which is exactly what every company should do, except most of the big tech companies are in some way involved there because they have to be. But yeah, I would just turn them off. And the UK government clearly, I guess their hearts are in the right places here, maybe, but they clearly don't understand how these things work. They don't understand non-volatile memory, and they don't understand the scope of the problem.
UK government suggests deleting files and old emails to save water because data centers do use a lot of water.
This is like people telling you, it's like, oh, don't flush when you pee. It's good for the environment. And you look at like China's factory system, and you're like, I don't know how much difference I'm going to make.
Yeah.
With a stinky.
It feels like there's a lot of other things they could maybe look into first.
What is going on in the UK? It's all just insanity in UK.
It's all a performance, but that's true of everywhere. And Lithuania, maybe this is a performance, but I don't know. I support this one because enabling your citizens and making them more self-sufficient is always a good idea. Now, there could be some edge cases where this is dangerous, but you can't live your life like that. You have to give people the knowledge and hope that they'll do the right thing.
Lithuania to give children drone training to counter a Russian threat. They're going to learn how to assemble drones and pilot drones and make drones from scrap. I'm having trouble seeing a downside here. 22,000 people.
When's the Molotov class?
It starts at 10 years of age, so they'll probably wait till you're at least 16 before Molotov training. Also, I don't think Molotovs are like on a drone, because then you'd have to have a way to light them. That would be unreliable.
I saw, it was long ago enough that it probably wasn't AI, which is a crazy thing to have to consider. But I remember when the Ukraine war started, there was a story about and it had photos of kids assembling Molotovs to stop the Russian advance.
I think those were just hand thrown.
Yeah. It was there was no machine there. Yeah.
Traditional Molotov.
I honestly don't see a problem with this, but we also coming from somebody who grew up in an area where they start firearms safety training
really young.
when grade school and middle school. So it's just some people are offended by that, and it's like, oh no, that seems reasonable to me.
Well, in this case, there might be a necessity.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to look very far to see an example.
In our case, it might end up being a necessity.
Yeah. Just for squirrel hunting, obviously.
But for the same reason, drones. And we got a couple of China stories here that kind of feel like there might be some propaganda, but that doesn't mean they're not true. It maybe feels like in this case, what they're saying is, hey, you have to let us have all the power we want.
Yeah.
It's very critical that you do that.
China's lead in open source AI at Jolts, Washington, and Silicon Valley. This article is really not a fantastic article because it doesn't understand about the open weights and open AI and what OpenAI is doing and what it completely forgets about Meta. Meta, it's
remembers Meta.
Yeah, is Llama a joke? Because it's oh, it wasn't until China was doing this, and then now GPT's got their open weights thing, and it's this is not. But okay.
And also, China might not have had that success if they didn't have stuff to look at.
Yeah.
That was already created. So, I mean, it's great. It would be great if we had an American open source AI revolution, but maybe not as simple as they put it. And China is, they're going to get their chips again. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But they were going to have to pay a little bit extra, and now they're rejecting the old way.
China urges firms to avoid Nvidia H20 chips after Trump resumes sales. So it doesn't rise to the level of a tariff, but they're just saying, hey, don't slow down on homegrown solutions, which I thought was interesting. I mean, obviously China could just say, oh, we're going to tax the crap out of H20. And they're not doing that yet. They might, but so far, not so much.
But they are afraid of those back doors, which, of course, we've been assured don't exist, but we were assured that didn't exist in our telephone system as well. And this one's interesting because this is another, I feel like maybe a little bit of propaganda.
I also kind of had that thought, because then I started looking other articles up along this line, and all of them appeared within the last 6 months.
Yes.
But also probably not untrue.
Yeah.
At least not completely.
AI experts return from China stunned. The U.S. grid is so weak, the race may already be over. Certainly, if you're in Texas, it is by design that your power grid is made out of baling wire and duct tape so that those companies can charge you more. This is what happens when there's no longer competition. Meanwhile, in China, it's we're going to need a crazy amount of power and housing and all of that, tofu drag overbuilding that we were mocking. It turns out it might not have been entirely tofu drag.
Or it could be, and this is all propaganda, and they're trying to make us feel bad.
There's a lot of nuclear coming online.
Yeah.
But it is true that we don't have what we need.
Right.
And there's no reason we don't have what we need because we waste so much money on other stuff.
Yes.
So.
Both can be true.
And AI, AI in government seems like a real bad idea, right? We've seen a couple of examples of it that weren't stellar so far. Should we allow that to happen? And should we allow it to happen in one of the most contentious forms of our government?
Commissioner of Canada Elections will, quote unquote, explore the use of AI.
It just takes us so long to count all those votes. We just want to predict it.
I went down the rabbit hole of what exactly this guy means. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what that means.
Well, in some ways, it sounds like maybe he was talking about trying to combat AI influencing elections.
I don't think he knows.
Yeah, I think they're just hey, we need a headline. We need some money.
Please give us money.
Mention AI. That always works. And if you were planning on visiting Russia, I would discourage it. At least if you're from America, maybe other countries wouldn't be so bad. But you will have to get some alternative means of communicating with the homeland if you are a WhatsApp or Telegram user.
Russia restricts calls via WhatsApp and Telegram, the latest step to control the internet. They are removing themselves from the internet. They're trying to create their own sort of great firewall situation, and WhatsApp and Telegram are just the latest casualties of that.
Only voice, though. Interestingly, you can still text. I guess they can monitor that.
That's easier for them to put a large language model on.
Don't they know about AI? You can monitor voice just as easily these days. And in Australia, they've been handing down some big anti-tech rulings lately, and this one, once again, really a crushing blow for two companies in particular.
Tech giants Apple and Google lose landmark court cases. Federal judge rules they engaged in anti-competitive conduct. Australia, of course, but Australia is looking at what's happened in the U.S. and the EU, and they said, yeah, you're right. It is. Your phones are just computers. Why can't you run an arbitrary application on your computer?
Now, I don't know if there's an appeal layer beyond this. I think this might have been an appeal. But in terms of okay, what does this mean? We don't know yet because this was just the ruling and we get the sentencing portion later.
There was part of this that said that the developers may be entitled to a refund all the way back to the beginning of time for some portion of the 30% these platforms have charged if they are found to have overcharged, which I thought was interesting. That seems to go beyond what the EU and the US have suggested.
And moving on to some security issues. It wasn't just the UK court system that had an embarrassment this week. We had our own.
Russia is suspected to be behind the breach of the federal court filing system. Yeah, that came up in a White House press release, and I think the official response from the administration was Yeah, what did you expect?
2021. So they might have been in there for a very long time. I wonder if maybe they still are. This is the kind of thing that seems like we should be
More concerned about?
outraged about it, but it happens
Yeah.
so often. We're so, just jaded to this kind of thing coming up.
The bad thing about this court filing system access too is that a lot of the time there is information in those filings that are redacted. See also the Zelle lawsuit. They had unredacted access.
And that kind of thing is bad, but it's bad in kind of an abstracted way, right? Like, well, okay, that doesn't really affect me directly. Maybe I don't know exactly what's in that system, but some hacking has a really immediate and visceral effect.
Russian hackers seized control of a Norwegian dam, spy chief says. It's like, oh, there were people in there, and then this was a thing. Yeah. I have a friend who does like the red team security stuff, and he has simulated like PLC infrastructure, and he said it's a lot of fun because he gets people from like Iran and North Korea and Russia all the time that are like, oh my gosh, I've got control of this manufacturing facility, and it's all just being simulated.
They opened up one of the gates and left it open for a little while.
Open the gate, use the satellite to take a picture. Oh, it really opened the gate.
It wasn't a big deal because the water level was already low downstream. But if that were not the case,
Yeah, it kind of sucks if you live along that stream.
132 gallons a second for 4 hours. I'm sure some fish were disrupted.
Yeah. What the hell's happening?
I'll be less impressed if it turns out that this dam was they implemented the control system on like a WordPress or something.
And data brokers are reaping the rewards from all of this failure. We've learned that they're even going and taking the leaks and reselling it. Like literally, that's making money from crime. That's not even allowed. There's
Yeah.
laws against it. But they're doing it, and they're doing every dirty trick to keep you from exercising your rights against them.
Data brokers are hiding their opt-out pages from Google search. Yeah.
So they, in one case, they figured out, and this is, like the don't crawl robots.txt. So they're telling Google, you're allowed to look at the website, but not this one page. And that's the opt-out page. So if you search how to get rid of my data, you can't get it. And one company, the only reference to the opt-out was at the end of like a 400-page terms of service. That's the only way you could find it.
One of the things spurring these these companies into this type of action is also the AI agents. So you can talk to ChatGPT and put it in agent mode and say, "Hey, try to get rid of me in all these databases," and it'll just go to town doing that.
There's also services that do that, and I wonder if some of those aren't playing both sides.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure they are.
And the T app, we've learned 2 major breaches, both exposing that it had no security whatsoever. People still flocked to it. They increased their number of users. And now, perhaps even more insanely, another T app has popped up, one for the other gender, and guess what?
How we found TeaOnHer spilling driver's licenses and all that other stuff in less than 10 minutes.
Maybe just don't use these.
It was the same way.
Yeah.
The exact same way. And this had the same rules about uploading your driver's license. And guess what they got?
You get the feeling that both of these were vibe coded.
I think
Probably.
maybe this was actually a data company. And I was like, spin that up immediately and let's just harvest the leaks.
It's going to turn out like one day we're going to find out that OnlyFans was actually like a CIA or an NSA operation for money laundering, and that was the whole reason. And it's like, oh yeah, it's a cheap and effective way to do that.
No, if that were true, age verification would have never happened. They wouldn't get rid of that. So yeah, you can still use this app, I guess, if you want to. The author or whoever figured this out said they didn't respond. I wouldn't recommend it.
Also, something about the source code or the page source, the HTML page source contained the admin URL, username, and password, which is insane.
So the site actually doesn't have they don't have a website. It's app only, which is like
Red flag.
burning red flag.
Yeah.
Right? And they found the API site, which was just a subdomain. And yeah, when they went to that, it had the plain text admin password and login, which is just like,
How does this happen?
how do you expect people not to figure that out? You think that's like, oh, everybody's as ignorant to this as I am. Let's just go with it. And here's an interesting one that is maybe a little bit of data brokerage in our favor.
Thousands of formerly secret files on police misconduct in California made public through a searchable database. 12,000 cases involving allegations from sexual assault to brutality to other sorts of insanity.
You can't say that.
Oh, right.
That's fine.
It's SA now. You have to say SA.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean friend. So yeah, let's see how long. I knew this was going to be a short one.
I wonder if Sandwich Guy's going to be in there.
No, I didn't put that in.
I didn't. No. I mean, in the database.
Yeah, the
Wasn't
database
that-
for the cops.
That was that in California?
Oh, yeah. It probably was in D.C. I was thinking about because Newsom had his thing, and then the people showed up to intimidate the people that were at the thing, and it's just like, what is this?
Which maybe I'll be wrong, but in my mind, when I'm trying to filter the nonsense out of the world, if you tell me I got big news, I'm going to tell you later, you're lying. You never have big news if you tell me you're going to tell me later. You'd tell me now if you had big news. Crunch, 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 crunch.
Oh, yeah, you're eating ice. I was like, what is he eating?
Enjoy the sound of the ice. The
ASMR.
ASMR sound of ice.
Well, it's so hot, you got to find some way to cool off.
It is. The air conditioners are struggling a little bit.
Just a little. As far as Ryan didn't have a comment.
The heat isn't so bad. It's the 98% humidity that is making it somewhat difficult to breathe.
Yeah. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.